Well, here we have the system components. I did a little bit of wiring here today. The PV array, of course, is out in the sunlight, and it comes in through the back of this box, and there is a pair of breakers down on the bottom here that one of them is for the PV array, and one of them disconnects the charge controller from the battery. We also have a couple more breakers located on this DC box. This one here is the inverter breaker, and it runs the inverter, which is temporarily just kind of wired in. This is the little loaner until you guys find your own, and it feeds the breaker box here that runs the AC outlets in the house. Right now you have an AC outlet, and you also have a DC outlet. The plug configuration is different, so you can't plug the wrong thing into the wrong place. And then we also have the breakers here that are for the DC loads. So to not be totally confusing, let's run through the breakers again. We have the inverter breaker, which can be enlarged. It's got a knockout in there right now, allowing for the small breaker. When you get a bigger inverter, then you can put in a larger one. And we have the PV, the solar input, essentially. One of those breakers being the actual solar PV array, the other the charge controller. And then the breakers on this side are for the DC loads. These guys, there's only one installed right now, are strictly for the AC loads powered by the inverter. So I said that the charge controller has a breaker, but it's not just the charge controller. It's kind of the heart of the system. It has metering on board, and there is a Whiz-Bang Junior installed in this system, so it keeps track of the state of charge of the battery, read out in amp hours, and gives you some interesting information. And this information is typically across the top here, and the most important one to have is the percentage charge, and I'll go over that in another video. I want to mention one other thing, and that is that Midnight Solar has a video library on their website, midnightsolar.com, that includes videos on the KID, which is this charge controller, and the Whiz-Bang Junior, which is installed, that gives you that additional information on the state of charge and everything. So I would recommend that you watch those. Right now you can power off the inverter here, and you see that the some of the lights went out, whereas some lights remained on. That's a DC light. There are a couple other DC lights currently wired in the house, one of them running over there right now. I'm going to leave it at that for right now.